Ethiopian realm. Ethiopian realm, or otherwise known by the name Afro-tropical region. That is another term because Ethiopia was a prominent country in the ancient times. That is why the name Ethiopian civilization was there. Now it is not that much developed, but during the time during ancient times, Ethiopia was very flourished. So that may be the reason why Ethiopian realm has been given. The word Ethiopian has been given to that region. Now another term is Afro. Afro comes from the word African and tropical because most of the Africa is characterized by a tropical climate. That may be the reason why the term Afro-tropical is given. Now we will see here if you look at the map, you can see what are the different realms of the world, and you can also see that except the northern portion of the African continent, majority of Africa is coming under the Afro-tropical or Ethiopian realm. Now we have to see what are the geographical limits. By geographical limits, we mean which are the countries or which are the regions which are coming under that region. So, Ethiopian realm basically include most of the Africa, most of the southern and central Africa is part of the Ethiopian realm. Then Sahara Desert is also coming, and southern part of Arabia. You check this southern part of Arabia is a small portion here. This is the Arabian Peninsula. A small portion here is also part of that's Ethiopian island and Madagascar Island. Here you can see that this island is known by the name Madagascar Island. So this is the portion, this is the region which is characterized, which is coming under the Afro-tropical, otherwise known by the name Ethiopian realm. Now we will see this is a map showing the countries of Africa and also the physiographic regions of Africa are also shown here. Now, what are the features of Ethiopian region? Here you can see that from the term itself, Afro-tropical, you can understand that majority of the Africa or Ethiopian region or majority of the African continent is characterized by tropical climate. And what is a tropical climate? I think in the last class I have discussed that. What is the features of the tropical climate? Here you can see this is the equator. This line is known by the equator. And here also you can see another line. I think this line. Okay, here you can see that that line is known by the Tropic of Capricorn. Then one more line will be here, and this line is known by the name Tropic of Cancer. So the region which is between these two lines, one is Tropic of Cancer and other is Tropic of Capricorn, is known by the name Tropical Belt. Now, in a tropical belt, one important feature is that the sunlight will be coming directly. Whereas, if you go to the southern portion of the globe or earth or northern portion of the globe, the sunlight may not be falling there directly. It may be falling at a slanting position. So, since sunlight is falling on the northern poles, polar region as well as southern polar region in a slanting position, the intensity of the sunlight may not be that strong. But in the region of equator or in the region of the tropical belt, sunlight is directly falling. The straight rays of sunlight will be reaching there. So the intensity of the sunlight may be very high, or the more stronger or more hotter or more warmer sunlight will be reaching this tropical belt. And because of the intense heat, there will be high level of evaporation. And when there is high level of evaporation, what will happen? More water vapor will be going to the atmosphere. When more amount of water vapor is going to the atmosphere, what will happen is that they will condense in the atmosphere and they'll be coming back or fall to the earth again as the rain. So one feature that we are seeing in the tropical belt is that there will be heavy sunlight or highly intense sunlight will be there. The temperature will be very high. Because of high temperature, there will be more amount of evaporation of water and that evaporation will be resulting in more amount of clouds being formed in the tropical region. When more clouds are formed, that will be coming to the earth as rain. So we are also in a tropical belt. That is why we are getting lot of plenty of rainfall. Just like that, majority of African regions are in the tropical belt. So tropical region is characterized by usually high sunlight, high rainfall, and another peculiarity of the tropical climate is that the day length and night length may be almost equal. That is, in most of the tropical, for example, in our area, around 6 or 6:30, we will be having the daybreak. The what is called then around 6:30 in the evening, the nights will be the day period at that time will be over. So we are seeing 12 hours of light and 12 hours of darkness. But if you have any relatives in Europe or in other areas of America or Canada, you ask them how many hours of day or how many hours of night they are getting. It may not be 12 hours of night or 12 hours of day, because if you go to the Europe, in most of the time they will be having more hours of night. That is, and daytime. If, for example, you go to Sweden or Norway, sometimes the morning will be starting at around 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. in the morning, and by 4 o'clock it will be dark. I have seen that when I was in Europe, around by 4 o'clock it will be bit dark. So that kind of situation is there, but we are not experiencing that situation. We have exact almost equal hours of night and equal hours of day. So that is another peculiarity of the tropical climate, because direct rays of sun will be coming to the tropical belt. Then we will see some more points. Now, in an Ethiopian region, we can find several major rivers. Here you can say this is the Nile, Congo, Niger, and river Zambezi. Now I will show you this. Here, this is the see here you can find the major rivers of Africa. You just see the length of the Nile. The Nile is a very big river, and it is almost crossing the entire, almost half of the African continent. That is, it is beginning here and it is reaching up to Lake Victoria here. That is, half the length of Africa is actually traversed or crossed by River Nile. Then we have another longer river known by the name Congo River. This is also a very long river. Around half of around certain it is situated in the middle portion of Africa. Then there are many other like Niger. And that place is that called by the Niger. Still there is a country called Niger there. So this is another river. Then we have Zambezi River. Then towards the south we can see Orange River. So out of this, river Nile is the most important river. Now if we look at the river Nile, this is known by the name Egypt. I will show you that. Here you can say the Egypt and Sudan, two major countries. And you know about Egyptian civilization. Now, in the absence of this Nile River, you see, this Egypt and Sudan are actually located in the Saharan desert. So, if Nile River was not there, this Egypt and Sudan may be a desert. It is because of the flowing of Nile River through the Egypt and Sudan that region has some vegetation. So, in the absence of Nile River, it is uninhabitable. It will be just a desert like most of the other parts of Sahara. So, Egypt has a flourishing civilization from ancient times. It is mainly because of this Nile River. So that because of that, it is influencing the human life as well as animal life around the region of Nile. So Nile is a very long river, and it is also influencing the vegetation, animal life, human life. So that's why that region has been in history for a long time. That's why Egyptian civilization has all started. Then another peculiarity is evergreen forest in the equatorial region. What is equatorial region? Here you can find this is the equator. Here you can find this is the equator, right? This line, no, this line is equator. This line is the equator. This line. The one peculiarity of the equatorial region is that in the equatorial region, the intensity of sunlight will be very high. Because of highly intense sunlight, there will be more evaporation during day. And during night, what will happen is that these clouds will be condensing and falling back to earth as a rain. So during daytime, we are experiencing high sunlight and high temperature will be there. And during night, by around 6 p.m. or 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock at night, there will be intense rainfall. So that is a climate that we are mostly seeing in equatorial region. So equatorial region are regions which are present around 10 degree north and 10 degree south of the equator. So here you can see this is the equator. So in this region there are a lot of forests are there, and forest present here you can see these green areas are all forest. So you can see that in this map, the green portion are all forest, and those this in the Congo also there are forest. Here also there are highly some high lot of forests are there. So it is because of this. It is because of the presence of this equator. That is why we are finding more equator, more rainfall and more and high as well as high temperature. Here you can see that what are the types of forests that we are finding. See, this is the evergreen forest, this belt, because equator is going in this direction. So at the place of equator, we can find a no, no, tropical forest as well as equatorial forest. Equatorial forest and tropical forest are somewhat similar, but peculiarity of the equatorial climate is that there will be high temperature in the daytime and high rainfall, heavy rainfall in the night. Here you can find an evergreen forest of the Congo. Evergreen, what is the meaning of the word evergreen? They remain green throughout the year. That is the meaning of the word evergreen. Because if you go to your best example, you take a rubber. What happened for a rubber tree? There is falling of leaves. Rubber is actually a South American plant, not a native plant of Kerala. So many of the plants which are flourishing or growing in European region or temperate region will be shedding their leaves during the winter season. But in the isotropical plants, they will not be shedding their leaves during any time of the year. Their leaves will be present throughout the year. In all seasons, we can find leaf. For example, you take a jackfruit tree or mango tree, they will be having leaves throughout the year, but that is not the case of a rubber. So trees, so in the case of an equatorial forest or tropical forest, they remain green throughout the year. That is why their forests are known by the name evergreen forest, always green. Then another peculiarity is that so in the equatorial region we are finding equatorial lot of evergreen forest. Another peculiarity that we are finding is that southern part is warm temperate with mixed vegetation. What is the meaning of the word warm temperate? Basically, this is the Mediterranean Sea. Here you can see that. So regions around the Mediterranean will be having a special climate because actually this is in the temperate belt. But this Mediterranean Sea has a warm ocean current. The temperature of the Mediterranean Sea is more hotter or more warmer than the other areas. Because of the warm ocean current, the regions around the Mediterranean Sea are more warmer. So if you go to countries like Greece, Turkey, here you can this is the Turkey, and this is the Greece, and this is Jordan. All these countries are more warmer. In the absence of this warm ocean current to the Mediterranean Sea, they will be having a colder climate. So the climate similar to the Mediterranean climate is also seen in the southern portion. Now you can see that The southern portion, here you can see this area, the southern tip of Africa is experiencing a climate similar to the Mediterranean climate in this region. That is why Europeans have settled in the South Africa. There are different areas, different countries in South Africa. But most of the Europeans are still settling in South Africa. The reason is that they find the climate of South Africa very much similar to the climate they have experienced in Europe. So the southern part of the African continent is having a Mediterranean climate, and you must understand what is a Mediterranean climate. A Mediterranean climate is a climate similar to the climate around the Mediterranean Sea, and that climate is usually characterized with warmer nature. But at the same time, this is in a temperate region. This area is in a temperate belt. Here you can see that the here you can see that see this is the Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn. Regions after the Tropic of Capricorn will be coming under the coming under the temperature belt. So tropical belt will be up to from here to here. The region south of this Tropic of Cancer, the Tropic of Capricorn, will be having a colder climate or a temperate climate. But in the case of South Africa, even though it is in a colder region, it still have a warmer climate compared, but not as hot as other parts of the South Africa, the African continent. So that is another peculiarity. Then about the desert, extensive desert on the northern side, and that desert is known by the name Sahara. Here you can see that. See, this is the Sahara desert. We just compare the range of Sahara or the area of Sahara with the rest of Africa. Sahara is actually occupying one third, more than one third of African continent. Entire, if you take the entire land area of Africa, nearly 30% of land area is actually formed of Saharan desert. So, and here you can see many more than 10 countries are part of the Saharan desert. So, Sahara is a very large area, and in addition to Saharan desert, you can also see some other desert in the southern region, and that is the Kalahari desert. Then another is Namib desert. So these are the two major deserts that we can find in African continent. Now, have you ever noticed one important feature of desert? Majority of the deserts are situated on the western side of the continent. That is here you can. This is the Kalahari desert on the western side. The African desert is also starting on the western side. Now, if you go to the globe again, here in the case of India, there is a desert. That is a Thar desert, western side of Indian mainland. Then, if you take North America, here you can find California. There is a desert called Californian desert. That is in the western side. Here, if you take the South America, this western side of South America is a desert called Atacama Desert. So most of the deserts are situated on the western border of a major continent. The reason is the spinning or rotation of the earth from west to east. It is because of the rotation of earth from west side to east side. The deserts are mostly located, and it causes a variation in the circulation of air, and that will result in more drier air being located in the western side of the continent. So that is the reason why the Sahara is a very important desert. Then on the western side, we are finding thick forest. What is the western side of Africa? Here, this is the western side. So if you come to the this map, this green area are all showing forest. So this is the western side. So in the east of western side, where this Niger River, Dengu River, and Congo River are all located, we can find more amount of evergreen forest as well as equatorial forest. So the western part of Africa has a high rate of evergreen as well as equatorial forest. Then the rest of Africa shows Greenland. So then we have to also understand that. That is, if you compare in this region, we can find mostly forest. Now, if you take the Kalahari Desert, there also we are finding more forest. But the region between this evergreen or equatorial forest and the Kalahari Desert are mostly characterized by grassland. In this region, we are finding the most of the African grassland or African savanna. So that it is in the African savanna, the majority of the African wild animals are located. So here there are a lot of forests, especially in the countries here. In this belt, we are mostly finding grasslands. The lion, zebra, or horse, antelopes are all living in this part or in this grassland. So that is another peculiarity of the African region. Then mountain regions and grassy plains are located in the eastern part. What is the eastern part? You have heard about an important peak in Africa. There was a Tamil film also. Do you know that it is known as the high, but it is the highest peak in Africa, Kilimanjaro. Here you can see that Mount Kilimanjaro is the that is the highest peak in Africa. See, it is located in this region, nearly I think the Tanzania or some region. So the eastern portion of Africa is having a mountain chain just like our Western Ghats. Then there is another peculiarity. There is a great rift valley that is in for a just like you have Western Ghats. Most of this eastern portion is characterized by mountains, but in between this mountain there is a gap, and that gap is known by the Great Rift Valley. So between two mountain chains we can find kilometers of gap. Yeah, for example, if you are going to Palakkad, there is a gap between the Western Ghats. There is a gap of nearly 25 or 30 kilometers in the Palakkad area. The Western Ghat between to the mountain range of Western Ghats, we are finding a gap. A similar type of gap is also present here, and that gap is extending for kilometers, more than 1,000 kilometers. You can find. That is why the Great Rift Valley. So, Great Rift Valley is also present on the eastern side of Africa. So these are the physical features, and we should have a clear idea. You only need to mention these points. But if you are studying the points simply by heart, you won't be understand what it actually means. Now we are going to the second portion. Then that is the sub-regions. We will understand what are the major sub-regions of African or Ethiopian realm. One is East African sub-region. That East African sub-region include tropical Africa and tropical Arabia. So, tropical Africa plus tropical Arabia. That is, here you can see that this is the Arabian, this region. This region is coming under the East African sub-region. A small portion of our Arabian Peninsula is also in the Ethiopian realm. So East African sub-region is located in the eastern region. What are the features of East African sub-region? Mostly mountains. The East African sub-region is located in the mountain chain, and we can find a great rift valley also there. So that is the peculiarity of the East African sub-region. Now the second sub-region that we are finding is the West African sub-region. Now it includes the western part of Africa up to Congo. Here you can see, if you look at this region, this is the West African sub-region. This region where Congo is now located or is known by the name the West African sub-region. So here this region is characterized by mostly thick forest, especially equatorial forest or tropical forest. So that is the second region. So first it is East African sub-region in this portion, and second is the West African sub-region in this portion. Then you take the South African sub-region. southern part of Africa. Why it is considered as a separate region? I told you that it is because of the this region is in the temperate belt, but because of but it is still having a warmer climate. So the climate is more similar to the climate in the Mediterranean region. So this region has a Mediterranean climate. Mostly we are finding Mediterranean trees are also present here. So the compared to the rest of Africa, the Mediterranean, the extreme south of South African continent, that is South Africa, is having a distinct or different climate compared to the majority of other regions of the Africa. So that is why that region is known as a Mediterranean climate. So there is a South African subregion, is another third type of subregion. Then we have many islands near South Africa, and that is part of another subregion known by the name Malagasy. Malagasy is the earlier name of the island known by the name Madagascar. In addition to Madagascar, we can find Mauritius, Seychelles, Reunion, then Chagos Islands. Small islands are here. Here you can find. This is the Madagascar. And here you can find small islands, much more smaller than Madagascar. And these islands are known by the name. This is a Madagascar. You can find Seychelles Islands are here. Then Mauritius is here. Then you can find Comoros Island here. Another is Reunion Island. So all these islands are located in the Arabian Sea, and these islands are actually forming another distinct climate or distinct ecoregion, and that is why it is placed as another subregion known by the name Malagasy subregion. The word Malagasy is the earlier name of Madagascar. Presently, the island is known by the name Madagascar, but in the early ancient time it was known by the name Malagasy. So, because of that, Malagasy subregion is located also in the east. So, once again, I will tell you there are four subregions. The first subregion is the eastern subregion, that is in the eastern part of Africa. Then we have West African subregion. In this region, mostly characterized by thick forest. Then South African subregion, characterized by a temperate climate. Then we are having Malagasy subregion. And in this Malagasy subregion, what we are finding is we are mostly seeing islands are there in the Madagascar. Now, Madagascar was once a part of Africa. It was very close to Africa. It was connected with Africa for a long time. Now, it is separated by a shallow sea, not very deep sea. So the animals that we are presently seeing in Madagascar have all came from Africa in the ancient times. So these are the details of different subregions that we are finding in Africa. Today we will stop here.